right. The spawned off also in
4909 and RA Falashia 284-9256. Let us support the people in the diaspora. Let us support our own. It is time. So, I'll also like to say thanks for the warm greeting and hospitality that I got when I attended a Thanksgiving down there at Obatala Temple of Light. Baba Fabrice Baker for the warm welcome. It was very, very interesting, very good, very nice. Also, Nicole Huggins. Those you can stream us live on Facebook at the Sheet 919 FM. You can also stream us live on YouTube on Iowa TV. Just like to pay shout out those on the live. Ayuka Curtin, Ile Egbe Yomoja Shrine, locked on and listening. Reginald Armour, Light and Love. Obatala Temple of Light, Sarah Ann Brand. Good to see this Orisha at last as the voice. Nicole Huggins, Fabrice Baker, Orisha Lasse Ogenlade from the Nubian Experience. Always locked on and a very strong supporter and sponsor of the show. I like to say thank you very much, Darky Sylvester. So we'll get right into it. Ifa Bamero, I say welcome again.
Thank you.
The views, I like to say this, the views of the Orisha Way of Life, the MC, the co-host, and the guests, and the views of the Street 919 FM people. Please, this program is about edifying and bringing that sense of comfort and to break that fear and that disrespect that the diaspora has been getting over a period of time. So, Ifa Bamero, the floor is yours. I say welcome again.
Welcome, Akabo.
Thank you. Before we get into the subject for tonight, I first want to thank all the people who supported the IFA School of Enlightenment with their fundraiser that they had last Saturday. We had an overwhelming amount of support, and we want to say Modupwe to all who supported, who came by, and who contributed, and everything. Right, that would be on behalf of myself and the committee that was responsible for organizing the fundraiser.
Okay.
All right. Well, tonight we're going to talk a little bit about finance, but finance in respects to it being a part of African tradition, right? So we would first begin by reading an essay, Ifa, from Owori Obara.
We just first mind, Baba Melo is here. Baba Melo is here. It's Baba Melo. You make yourself comfortable. Welcome again.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I was not about to read the essay, so I would continue. All right, the essay, Ifa, reads. All right, before I read the essay, I'm going to go into a little history first. All right, the name of this article is the Isusu, a credit institution of the Yoruba. This article was written by Williams R. Bascom, who members of the community should be familiar with because he's the author of one of the books of Udus that we use as part of the literary corpus of the Ifa Orisha community. All right, this article is concerning the Isusu. All right, the Isusu, one of the economic institutions of the Yorubas of Nigeria, has elements which resembles a credit union, an insurance scheme, and a savings club. But it is distinct from all these. The Isusu is a fund to which a group of individuals make fixed contributions of money at fixed intervals. The total amount contributed by the entire group is assigned to each of the members in rotation. Aside from the Yoruba, there is an excellent description of this institution among the neighboring Nupe. where it is known as Dashi. All right, the Adashi is a Hausa word with essentially the same patterns. It has also been recorded among the Negroes of Trinidad, where it is known as Susu, and where it is obviously an African retention, which can be traced back to a Yoruba origin. All right, this statement in particular came from Herskovits in 1947. It could be found on his document on page 76 and 77, as well as page 291. In Nigeria, the Isusu, I'm continuing to read, in Nigeria, the Isusu group is commonly known in English as a contributions club. In the extensive literature on the Yoruba themselves, the Isusu is only frequently mentioned. The most detailed description is the Ajisafe. Is that of Ajisafe, 1924, page 46 to 49 in that document, which is quoted in its sixth part in full in the footnotes. It is mentioned by Johnson also in 1927 on page 117 of his document, which states briefly that Isusu is a universal custom for clubbing together of a number of persons for monetary aid. A fixed sum agreed upon is given by each at a fixed time, usually every week, and placed under a president. The total amount is paid over to each member in rotation. This enables a poor man to do something worthwhile where a lump sum is required. There are laws regulating this system. In the Yoruba dictionary, Isusu, that is Isusu, Esusu, is defined as a club organized for the purpose of assisting members in money matters. All right, so this is a research paper that was written by William Bascom. But I think most people in the Caribbean and now in the United States, as well as in Africa, are familiar with the Susu. All right, as I read above, it is an arrangement that is run over a fixed period of time, fixed contributions, and a fixed number of persons. And what takes place is all the money is collected in one pot, and in rotation, all the members are allowed to have access to this collective amount of money. So that is the very basic concept of the Isusu. So now what I'm going to do, from reading the research, I'm now going to read an essay IFA that sort of supports the Isusu. All right, this essay.
So when you say essay IFA, for those who know, don't know anything about the tradition, okay. Just a little,
Okay, in the Ifa Orisha community, we use a literary corpus or a body of information that is referred to as Udu Ifa. All right, this is considered by us to be almost like what most people would call a scripture, because it's a collection of information that reinforces the tradition and allow us for specific guidance. Now, not only does it provide guidance and guidelines, but within all of these Udu Ifas, there are also solutions to things that are brought up, whether it be a problem, whether it be a situation, whatever it is. And basically, the information that is contained addresses the future, the present, as well as the past. Because this particular information, of course, is a part of our entire system, which also includes our ability to have ideas as to how our life should be guided.
That's it.
All right, that is the simplest explanation
Yes.
I could give. So now what I would do is I would read the Udu Ifa. Oyeku Irosun states, Ifa wishes this person well. Ifa exhorts him to form a money contributing group called Esu, which is Esusu. This is the Ifa verse that establishes Esu. This person would have rest and become a rich man. All right? So basically, the Susu is of West African origin.
Form of empowerment.
Right. It is a form of economic empowerment. It is what our ancestors has used here for a very long time to do things that they would not be able to do straight out of their own pockets. I might even want to jump out on a limb to say most of what we call insurance and all these things that we use today actually came from these concepts. Because among the Yoruba people, they would have had not just the Susu, but they would also have what is referred to as an emergency fund. Right? Whether it's be for death where a burial is required, or whether it be for illness or any type of emergency. If your house was to collapse and you need money, you could have accessed it through the emergency fund. All right, so what we call insurance today, where you have a car, you pay this money, chances are you may never get in an accident.
Yes, it's true.
But if you do, there is help.
Support.
Okay, so that is also, in reality, an emergency fund. But it is called insurance because that is the modern terminology that is used for it. Susus would be very much similar to what we call cooperative credit unions, where the members are in fact the real owners of the institution.
True.
They save their money there, as well as they invest, because there's two basic services they offer. They offer the saving service, as well as they offer the investment service where you buy the shares. When you buy the shares, you become the joint owner of the institution. So these things all spawned off from our tradition, which we are very proud to say.
Sure.
Right? But somehow it is never given the credit that the credit that we deserve as a people. We never get it.
Because Fiola Rada says Adupeo is about time this twisted version is corrected. Time we speak up and speak about Asheo Susu have a structure of equal collection. Those last few words there, Susu have a structure of equal collection.
That's a fact. That's a fact, you know.
Well, based on the research paper that Bascom written, he talk about fixed contribution over a fixed period with a fixed amount of members, and each person in rotation would get the lump sum that is placed in the pot. Mm-hmm. So that is the basic concept of a Susu. I have some level of training with finance, so there's a lot of different approaches one could have where finances are concerned. The current version of the Susu that is going around, I want to talk about it just a little bit. It is not the same as the traditional Isusu. So let's be very clear on that. It is called a Susu. Some people call it gifting circle. It's called by many different names. Loom, lotus, flowers, whatever name is called by. It is different. I would say that I have had an opportunity to examine the operation of a few of them. And I've looked at the figures. And people may not agree with me, but I'm of the opinion that it could actually work if it is done by responsible people, by honest people with integrity, and if the structure is designed in such a way as to facilitate I can't use the word investment because then it becomes taxable. So what can happen is if the people who are gifted the money would reinvest a great portion of that money back into the circle, then it could be sustained. So it's two things. You need people to re-gift, and you also need to have an influx of people continuously. This is not a Susu. Let's be clear. This is a whole other structure. This is a whole different apparatus, dynamics. A whole different game, if I should even use the word. I've even heard of some people trying to alter the figures to try to make it work, but it works with a fixed formula. And anytime you try to reduce or mess with that figure, you're going to run into problems. So that is enough said concerning that, Susu. I don't want to emphasize too much on it.
So those
It can work, that is all I can say, with some adjustments.
But
The
I like
adjustments
what
I
you
mentioned.
said, though. It could work, but once it have honest people.
Yeah, people with integrity.
Who could make sure that everybody gets their portion of what they put in.
Yes,
And
definitely.
nobody would lose.
Definitely. Now, I want to talk about the traditional Susu a little bit more, right? Because I'm involved in a program with a few other AOs where we are trying to encourage investment and we are trying to encourage businesses in our community, right? I've discussed this before on several of my videos, which, you all could view if you would just Google my name, right? Ifa Bemero Fahim Ali Bey or just Fahim Ali Bey, whether it's YouTube or Facebook, you're going to see a whole barrage of videos that explain all the different financial concepts. But the one that I want to talk about tonight in particular is, should I call it an investment club? I'm being very careful about the term investment because in Trinidad and Tobago, when you use these terms, then you fall into a certain tax position, which, we're trying not to have to subscribe to that type of a problem, right? The arrangement that I'm talking about is you have 10 business persons, each contributing $1,000 for a period of 10 months. At the end of that 10 months, the pool is going to be $100,000. So that money is going to be accessible to the 10 members. What can happen is one member wouldn't be able to get the whole pot at any one time. So just as the traditional Susu stipulates, it's a rotating opportunity. So basically, each of the 10 would have a window that is going to open up where they could actually make a loan. All right. Why I say a loan is because that pool of 100,000 has to be maintained. So the money is going to be lent to the members, just like a credit union, as a loan, where you're going to pay that money back and you're going to pay a little interest in addition. Now, one of the reasons I would try to encourage members of our community, now we're talking about now outside of the business people, we would encourage members of our community to use this method to raise funds for whatever, whether it's to build a shrine, whether it's to extend the shrine, whether it's to put an extension on your house, to buy a new vehicle, whatever need you may have. This is a tried and true method that has been used by our ancestors with great success.
So in a sense, we are helping empower our people to do things.
Definitely, because we're not saying form a Susu, 20 of you all, pay this money and then go and spend it loosely.
It's a financial.
No. We're not encouraging that. We're trying to encourage all of the resources to stay within our community. And one of the reasons why I talk about it being 10 business persons is because in the near future, we're looking at formulating a national credit union. And once the credit union is formed, what we don't want to do is to write a check for somebody outside of the community to benefit from the collective efforts that we are making. So what we would like to do is maybe between now and the middle of next year, for all the people who are interested in businesses, we would ask you to join collectively with groups within your community, within your ELA, within your workplace. Again, responsible, honest people with integrity. We want them to be responsible. And we want people to start doing what is called collective economics so that we could empower ourselves. Now, I don't want to go off too much and talk about other communities. We are well aware.
Yes.
The Chinese, the Syrians, everybody does collective economics. Nobody calls it a Ponzi scheme. Nobody calls it a pyramid. We see all the Chinese restaurants on the corner. And we see the families coming in and out for 6 months. And then they go and they open another food place someplace else. We ask how they do that. They do it through collective economics.
And that is so true because IFA is about communalism, which is we build a community that can sustain itself.
Definitely.
Either by finance and other compounding resources that
Yes.
can help one and the next one help one, and it flows in a circle. So no one is left behind unless they intend.
So so those are the people streaming on Facebook, Iowa TV, on YouTube. Tonight we have Ifa Bemero and Baba Mello here, and we are speaking about finance and empowering our people and really understanding the way that our ancestors pay for us when it comes to the word Isusu, as you say.
Yes, Esusu.
Esusu.
It's the letter E, but in Yoruba it's pronounced
E.
A. So it's actually not Isusu, but Esusu.
Right? So we just empowering our people, and we like people to get on board and try and develop ourselves
Yes.
and not run and, I don't want to say what I want to say, but
No, say what you want to say. The point is that every other community invests in themselves. This is I did a video recently called self-investment. This is one of the things that we have to start doing. You're going to buy something, you're going to travel to go somewhere, invest in yourself. Meaning what? People who look like you. I do not promote racism. I'm the last person in the world to promote that.
yes.
But I am saying that we need to start minding our own business.
And this was one of the main
Okay.
reasons why I contacted you to come on the show, because seeing the dynamics that the world is going through right now, we're leaving 2020 and heading into 2021, and the way of the pandemic, 1 minute it's up, 1 minute it's down, it's affecting the whole world. It's not affecting one side of the globe.
Okay.
And how can this really sustain us?
Okay, let's talk a little bit about that point that you raised. And I want all the viewers to take a little few minutes and to think about this. If there is a pandemic, which there is, the economy has slowed down, who do you think is going to be mostly affected and disenfranchised by such an event? We are, because we make up the majority of the poor people in this country. Okay? We do not receive any free rides. So we ain't going to talk about what the government doing for us. Because I and Baba Mello, we did a program and we was having a discussion about that. Since the pandemic.
Just now, Baba, to the people who trying to call and all eager to call and speak to Ifa Bemero, from 8:20, we will open the lines and encourage this discussion where you can throw your questions in. So right now he is dealing with what he has to deal with and getting the message out there. So from 8:20, the lines will be open. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, we have the situation where hampers was given out. Right? And I saw all of the list of all the other religious groups and the amount that was given to them. And then the first program that I look at, it was stated by the minister who was responsible that they had no contact in the Ifa Orisha. They had no contact for our community.
Remember that.
Which I was a little bit, I wouldn't even say perturbed. I was kind of surprised that somebody could actually, who in such a position could actually make such a statement. But I don't want the studio to get any lawsuits. So I would move away from that a little bit. But I'm simply saying that we have to take the responsibility to take care of our own affairs and not depend on anybody else to do it. Now, why it is we have all these problems, why it is we're not able to cooperate, why it is we're not able to trust each other, why it is that we're always fighting and we always have these problems. Well, you know what? I have a Udu Ifa that I want to read. Another Udu Ifa, because to me these things provide very clear ideas for us as to what we could do. We wouldn't get into the part with the ever, but we're going to get into the essay Ifa where the story is told, right? And the story even though the backdrop may have been Nigeria, it is very relevant to some of the things that
Yeah.
we go through in this part of the world. Because we didn't leave there and come here without bringing our culture with us, right? Much of it was beaten out of us, but the vast majority has been internalized and it is in our DNA. So now they want to give us shots now to destroy our DNA, but that's our next conversation. So let me read this quickly, and then I will highlight a few points that is mentioned here that we need to address in our community in Trinidad that gives a tentative solution to some of the problems we might be having. This Udu Ifa, or this essay Ifa, is from Owori Obara. All right, this one is from Popola. The first one I read was from Ayo Salami.
Ben.
All right, but this particular one is from Popola. So this one reads, Owo was the son of the Oba of his community. Owo was not known for his wealth because he had enough for his bare survival. He was, however, known for his wisdom and humility, understanding, hard work, sympathy, and consideration for others. When his father died, many people wanted him to ascend to the throne of his forefathers. This group felt that with his wisdom and other qualities, he would be able to steer the ship of their community to peace, progress, and prosperity. There was another group, however, who felt that without money, Owo was not fit to ascend the throne. Among this group were the kingmakers and the other persons they had in mind. This person knew that he was not entitled to the stool, but because he had money, he and his supporters believed that money could do anything and everything. In the case of Owo, he told the people not to agitate for him to become the Oba because he did not have the money expected of him to spend before he assumed the throne. His supporters said that he was being proposed because of his sterling qualities. The kingmakers demanded for and got money from the other group and made the other man Oba. Before long, the whole town was engulfed in chaos. There were internal strifes and external aggression. The economy of the town was in shambles. When they were expected to use diplomacy, they would employ confrontation. Where they were to use dialogue, they would prefer military expedition. Where they were to be magnanimous, they would twist the arms of the citizenry. It reached a stage where everybody was fed up with the Oba and his council of chiefs. The community was waging war on several fronts. Other communities feared and loathed the king. When the matter reached a head, the citizens of the community grouped together and banished the Oba and his chief. Once again, they went to beg Owo to assume the throne. He again complained of the lack of money. This time around, the whole community told Owo that the community was not looking for his wealth, but for his wisdom and sense of organization. Soon after this encounter, they made him their Oba. Listen to this. Immediately after ascending the throne, he went into action. All military campaigns were stopped, and in their stead, they opted for dialogue. They resolved all external problems with dialogue and refined diplomacy. All right? So, let me make a few inferences to the last part of this reading. Now, the Oba seemed to have been a very confrontational person, as a result of which he preferred to fight wars with his neighbors. And he preferred, in order to rule the people, to stir strife up among his own people. Now, when a people are busy fighting each other, it is very easy for the external enemies to penetrate and destroy them.
So true.
So, in this essay, Ifa, I'm not even going to read the last part, but the thing is, in the last part, which I did not read, All right, let me read it for that matter so people could get a clearer picture. This is the last part. They resolved internal strifes with honesty and purpose, magnanimity, and benevolence. Before long, the economy began to improve. The community then realized that it was not possible for the economy to improve where there was war, strife, and conflict. Everybody had more than enough to eat, drink, and wear. They were all praising Orwell, and they were equally condemning those who hitherto felt money could buy progress and happiness for the community. So this part kind of explains. Conflict, strife, and war destroys our people.
Yep.
Especially the economics. Because as soon as they stopped, they was able to eat more,
Yeah.
drink more, and wear more. So I am appealing to my people, go and read Obara Owori and get the lesson that was written by Popola in this essay, Ifa. Because the key is, as long as we keep fighting among ourselves,
Yeah.
we will never see progress.
And that's a fact. Even if you watch our neighbors right across with the internal rancor and struggle, they're people in a state they can't even eat.
So
It's a fact.
the key is here, I believe the lesson from this essay for that I would like people to grasp and like to see the importance of. We do not need to be fighting. What is all the fight about? Tell me, what is we fighting for? We don't have nothing. To begin with, we all poor. We have nothing. So what are we fighting for?
If people understand that we are all called differently and understand that everyone within our community, we have different skill sets. Be on the radio. Some people are born to teach, and we have to give respect where it is due. And in giving respect, we in turn would respect everyone's role and function and perform better as the community. But when we intend to look at what our next man is doing and not follow what is our destiny, it is then we would invite negativity in.
Definitely.
And start to fight amongst each other because we are not cooperating with our next person's strength and helping them live their best purpose.
True.
And in turn block us from living our full purpose by watching our next man.
Okay. Well, I absolutely agree with you. Two things. Iwapele,
Benny.
the development of the good, noble, and I as always add balanced character, and the fulfillment of destiny. For those people who are hearing this for the first time, don't know what it means, those are the two main objectives that is promoted by the Ifa Orisha tradition.
Benny.
All right? Now, in the essay Ifa, they mention the qualities of Owa, and I'm going to read it again. His wisdom,
Benny.
his humility,
Sure.
his understanding, his hard work, his sympathy, and his consideration for others.
Facts.
Those were the qualities that Orwell had. Those were the qualities that made Orwell a good Oba. Those were the qualities that the people appreciated and wished to see in a leader so that they themselves could exemplify, could follow the example that was being set by Orwell. Also, the solution that Orwell introduced was the stopping of all conflict, strife, and war.
Facts.
Again, I'm saying this. When we fight among ourselves, we make ourselves weak. And then the enemies could just make us victims. I don't know if you all have seen this this video on YouTube where two deers was butting head
I believe
and some lions coming up easily.
Yeah, and then even know.
Right. So what ended up happening, most of the other days pull off and the two remained there fighting until it was too late. The lions already was right up on them. So in saying so, simply saying, we have to attempt to reduce the level of conflict that we're having in our community.
True.
Baba Shaka talk about the fact that a lot of people are too busy looking at what other people are supposed to be doing. The reality is, we need to be focused on the development of good character, and we need to be focused on figuring out what it is we come here to do. All right, and there is a pathway towards that. Okay, and we all need to take that path.
Tell them what it is.
In order to understand.
Tell them no.
No, Elbaba, you tell.
Tell them. To understand who we are as a people, we need to know what our blueprint is.
Okay.
To find our blueprint, one of the ways is when your child is born from a very young age, on the 3rd day to the 17th day, let them do Eshentaye, so you can investigate who your child is. So by doing that, it would alleviate time wastage in sending a child to institutions that cannot help them fulfill their destiny.
All right.
All of us are here.
Let me back you up a little bit.
Yes, Baba.
And then I will let Baba Melo talk a little bit about the Eshentaye. The Hindus do it.
Yes, Baba.
The Jews do it.
Yes.
Most other traditional groups of people who are what we call successful, who practice traditional religion, when their children are born, they take them to the spiritual head.
Yes.
And the spiritual head would do whatever method of divination they follow, and they would be able to say, okay, what I'm seeing here is that this child has to be this, that, or that.
Yes, from heaven.
Right. From coming here, this is the child's role.
Yeah.
And as responsible parents, you are now being given the injunction as to what you must do in order for this child to succeed.
And I must also say too, even though you receive that information as a parent, it is incumbent on you to create that environment that would allow the child
that is why
to booster themselves in walking that path they have to walk from heaven. So if your child is on earth here to become a doctor, you must put them in an environment that could stimulate that
and nurture
within them and nurture that.
I'll just like to touch on some of the comments here because I doesn't like to leave my viewers out. They are part of this. They make this what it is. Hamtawara says, I have not internalized anything in my DNA. It is God Almighty who programmed my DNA, designed my composition. No curse Willie Lynch, no slave master put anything in my DNA or that of my fighting ancestors. If the slave masters had put anything. Fiula Rada says they have a way of selling out themselves. It starts with the heads. Fiula Rada says again, I don't agree that we don't have nothing. Because if that is so, why everybody else always want what we don't have? We are very rich people, just we are blinded by us saying we don't have nothing.
Could I address Fiola Rada's statement? Fiola Rada, let me explain a few things, and for all the other viewers too. When I say we don't have anything we'll be fighting for, individually we have very little. Collectively, we have all the wealth. So we are the ones who puts wealth into the possession of everyone else. So I want you to understand by my statement in saying that we don't have nothing, I mean as individuals. Many of us who become highly educated and have the degrees and all of that, we are conditioned to think selfishly. How many such persons who are highly qualified come back to the community and contribute anything? Think about it a little bit. So my issue, but in saying that we have nothing, I am talking about the people who think individualistically. I've had debates with one of my elders who keep insisting family is the basic institute, family. And I say, listen, so what about the extended community?
Yeah.
What about how things used to be, where your child was my child, and if your child was misconducting himself in the streets, I had the authority to correct your child as if the child